we doing the whole thing again? Okay. Yay. Are you sure? Okay. All right. All right, good morning, everyone. Round two. So thank you to our sole sanitation committee member who is here, Eric Bodger. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Thank you to DSNY Deputy Commissioner Greg Anderson and our Chief of Cleaning for being here today. Welcome to the 8th Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management of 2022. Today we'll be focusing on a slate of sanitation bills that focus on increasing transparency of DSNY operations, requiring sufficient receptacles for large buildings, and keeping our streets clean on a daily basis around holidays and during extreme weather events. Today we'll be hearing the following sanitation bills. First, we have Intro 630 in relation to the tracking of street cleaning operations. After years of suspended street cleaning during the pandemic, the city restored funding and brought back this critical operation. Residential streets that were normally cleaned twice per week were instead only cleaned on the later of the 2 days indicated on the street sign. These modified alternate street side parking regulations were in effect until July 5th, 2022, when ASP was fully restored. I, along with Councilmember Bottcher and Councilmember Gutierrez, introduced this bill to allow New Yorkers to better track the progress of these street sweeping operations in their neighborhoods via a new GIS tracking system similar to those DSNY implemented for snow operations. Next up, we have Intro 693 in relation to the provision of sufficient receptacles for the storage of solid waste. The public advocate and I introduced this bill to ensure the city's large buildings have an appropriate sanitation operation. This bill requires owners of buildings of 100 units or more to have a dumpster of no less than 20 yards in length for the deposit of refuse. The receptacles should only be used for the respective building or dwelling and should be adequate size for and number to hold enough waste that accrue in a 72-hour period. Each receptacle should be made of a specific type of metal that is acceptable to DSNY, DOH-MH, and HPD measures. This is important because we want to ensure there is no leakage of any sort, as well as eliminate access and entry created by rodents in receptacles. Next, we have Intro 145 in relation to requiring the Department of Sanitation to remove fallen tree limbs, branches, and vegetation that obstruct streets and sidewalks as a result of inclement weather. This bill focuses on sanitation operations regarding street trees post-extreme weather events, introduced by Councilmember Brannan. We will not be hearing from Brannan today on this one, but we'll talk about it in the questions. Next, we have two bills introduced by Councilmember Yeager aimed at providing more transparency on DSNY violations and fines. For context, in 2021, there were a total of over 192 DSNY residential violations citywide according to 311 data, including violations like dirty sidewalk and failure to clean 18 inches into the street. These bills include Intro 32 in relation to requiring a searchable dashboard for notices of violation issued by the Department of Sanitation, and Intro 33 in relation to requiring the notices of violation issued by the Department of Sanitation be accompanied by a photograph of the alleged violation. Finally, we have two bills from Councilmember Gennaro and Councilmember Holden. Intro 110 in relation to requiring that all public waste receptacles be emptied by the Department of Sanitation at least once per day, and Intro 238 in relation to collection of recyclable materials after a holiday. I look forward to learning more about DSNY operations around these issues and position on these 7 sanitation bills. And finally, I just want to thank my team, Anel Hernandez, who is my Director of Climate and Environmental Policy. I want to thank the Sanitation Committee Task Force, Jessica Albin, Ricky Chawla, and Andrew Lane Lawless. Thank you, Task Force, and thank you to everyone joining us today. So now I'll turn it over to our council to swear in the administration.
Thank you, Chair. Do you affirm to tell the truth in your testimony before the committee today and to answer honestly to committee questions?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Great. Good morning, Chair Nurse and member of the City Council Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. My name is Gregory Anderson, and I'm Deputy Commissioner for Policy and Strategic Initiatives at the department. I'm joined this morning by Jeffrey Pitts, who is our newly promoted Chief of Cleaning Operations, promoted last month to this critical role. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. The mission of the Department of Sanitation is to keep New York City clean, healthy, and safe by collecting, recycling, and disposing of waste, cleaning streets and public spaces, and clearing snow and ice. Under the leadership of Commissioner Tisch over these last 6 months, the department has been laser focused on cleanliness, working to clean up our streets in support of the city's economic recovery. In June, the administration and council announced unprecedented levels of funding for cleaning programs in the adopted budget, including $22 million for additional litter basket service and more than $12 million for precision cleaning and lot cleaning programs. Today, DSNY has the highest level of litter basket service in memory, a total of 793 weekly trucks compared to 588 trucks last year. The results are clear. Since the additional litter basket service took effect at the beginning of July, 311 complaints for overflowing litter baskets are down 55% compared to last year. This new investment was on top of funds added in the executive budget to restore full street cleaning operations, which had been cut in half during the pandemic, and to establish dedicated cleaning resources and equipment for protected bike lanes for the first time ever. The department has also expanded efforts to enforce basic cleanliness laws. This is the basic social compact in New York City. Sanitation does its part to keep the city clean, and residents, businesses, property owners, and others must do their part as well. We have refocused our enforcement efforts on those violations that most affect quality of life and that contribute to rodents and vermin. Most importantly, the department has taken an all-out approach to combat illegal dumping, which is both a theft of public space and a menace to communities across our city. We have installed dozens of illegal dumping surveillance cameras, with dozens more planned in the current year, thanks to the generous support of members of this council and the state legislature. The message we're sending is clear. If you dump on our city, you will be caught and you will face the consequences. This month, thanks to funding provided also in the adopted budget, DSNY launched a comprehensive evaluation of waste containerization to create a scalable, uniform approach that can work for neighborhoods across New York City. This project is intense in its depth and speed, and we expect to have final deliverables in the next few months. And earlier this week, the commissioner joined the mayor to enthusiastically announce the proposed new rules for waste set out. These transformative new rules will shrink the amount of time that waste sits on the curb before collection and eliminate the city's 5 o'clock shadow of garbage bags that appear on the sidewalk every afternoon. Under these proposed rules, the options are simple. Residential properties can set out trash in bags at 8 p.m. or in containers starting at 6 p.m. Larger properties with 9 or more units can opt in for early morning set out and collection, with waste being set out between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. for collection shortly thereafter. Commercial establishments can set out waste in bags also beginning at 8 p.m. or in containers earlier, up to 1 hour before they close. This is a transformational change for New York City streets. There will no longer be black bags on the sidewalk before 8 p.m. when New Yorkers are coming home from work, picking up their kids from school, or heading out to dinner. DSNY is accepting comments on these rules and will hold a public hearing on Friday, November 18th. We look forward to reviewing the comments and enacting final rules in the coming months. This is a tremendous amount of positive change in just the first 10 months of this administration. This department and our partners across New York City government have wholeheartedly embraced the mantra to get stuff done for New Yorkers. Now I'll briefly turn to the bills being considered today. Intro 32, sponsored by Councilmember Yeager, would require the department to create a searchable database of notices of violation issued. Intro 33, also sponsored by Councilmember Yeager, would require each notice of violation issued by the department to be accompanied by a photograph. Intro 110, sponsored by Councilmember Holden, would require DSNY to empty all public waste receptacles, litter baskets, in other words, at least once a day. Intro 145, sponsored by Councilmember Brannan, would require the department to assist the Parks Department in the removal of downed trees, branches, and other vegetation following inclement weather. Intro 238, sponsored by Councilmember Gennaro, would require DSNY to collect recyclable materials within 2 days following the department's 13 scheduled collection holidays. Intro 630, sponsored by the chair, would require the creation of a publicly available tracking application for street cleaning operations, similar to the Plow NYC system available for snow fighting operations. And lastly, Intro 693, sponsored by the public advocate, would require residential properties of 100 or more units to provide for a dumpster not less than 20 yards in length. DSNY shares the goals of cleanliness and effective, equitable service delivery that each of these bills intends to achieve. While we have concerns with some of the bills, we look forward to discussing with Council how to best achieve the goals they represent, and together we can create a cleaner, more vibrant New York City. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and we're now happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. I just want to acknowledge Councilmember Chiose, Councilmember Holden. I also want to turn the floor over to Councilmember Holden to make remarks about his bill.
Good morning. I want to thank Chair Nurs for hearing Intro 110, which would require the Department of Sanitation to empty all public waste receptacles, litter baskets, at least once daily. This would codify this for the future, that's the important thing here, that we create that standard. I also want to thank Sanitation Commissioner Jessie Tisch for her work. In about 6 months, she's done amazing things, and she's certainly a pleasure to work with. New York City is the most densely populated city in the United States. Trash receptacles along major thoroughfares are routinely overflowing. Everybody knows that in New York City. So that's kind of a fact of life. And the mayor understands, that how we process waste has to change. I think this legislation is a complement to his ongoing reforms. Emptying public receptacles daily will improve our environment and create a cleaner New York City, no doubt about that. So this bipartisan legislation will improve the quality of life for all New York City residents. This is very simple. I ask my colleagues to sign on to Intro 110, and again, I thank Chair Nurs for hearing this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Holden. And I think we can start our line of questioning around Councilmember Holden's bill while he's here. So we'll get right into it. So for Intro 110, again, is to require and codify that the public waste receptacles are emptied at least once a day. As we all mentioned, the council fought really hard to get the twice per day, 6 times a week litter basket change. And it's not a baseline program from what we understand. So some of the questions we have, and just in terms of how that's going right now, but let's start with, what your general thoughts about this bill are.
Sure, thank you. And thank you to Councilmember Holden for introducing the bill as well. So as I mentioned in the testimony, and as you've mentioned, Chair, the administration and the council added an additional $22 million in funding this year for litter basket service, bringing the service levels to the highest level ever. Nearly all litter baskets citywide today are emptied at least once a day. Many are emptied more than once a day. And that's really based on the level of need in each commercial corridor, in each area, in each neighborhood in the city. And that's driven by pedestrian activity, proximity to transit stops and transit hubs, to entertainment and other tourist attractions, and a number of other factors. And these service levels can vary from district to district and even vary pretty greatly within a single district based on that level of need. So, I think we support the intent of this bill to keep our city clean, to empty our litter baskets regularly, but I think we also know as the sanitation department that we need to have the discretion and the ability to allocate our resources effectively and appropriately across the city based on what resources are available to us, and that's something that Chief Pitts and his office, the cleaning office in sanitation headquarters, do on a daily basis. They're looking at where do we have need, where do we have available resources, making sure that we're meeting that need on a daily basis. I think we certainly agree with the spirit of emptying the litter baskets frequently and reducing the number of overflowing litter baskets. As I mentioned in my testimony, 311 complaints for overflowing litter baskets down 55% year to date compared to last year. That's a tremendous improvement. We would love to see sustained investment, but obviously that's a conversation that needs to happen in the upcoming budget.
Okay, so based on the allocation that was given in July, right now, not all baskets are serviced twice per day.
Yeah, that's correct. It varies based on need.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost every litter basket in every district is serviced that at the minimum of once a day, but certainly not all of them are serviced twice a day.
So almost every single one would be serviced. But you didn't seem like you're saying the intent of this bill is good, but you're not fully in alignment with it, even though as of a minimum, you have baskets being serviced once per day.
Yeah, given the current level of funding and if that level of funding continues in perpetuity, I think we would expect that level of service would also continue. Okay. But we need to hold on to that sort of management discretion to allocate resources where they're needed based on what resources are available.
Okay, so if we codify this, do you believe DSNY has the capacity and staffing to continue that work?
Again, we have the capacity and staffing today in fiscal year 23. As far as for, future fiscal years, that's a conversation for the budget cycle.
So you already alluded to this, but maybe you could hone in a little bit more about which districts receive more services, more frequency of services?
Sure, I'll start and then maybe let Chief Pitts add in as well. So the level of service, as I said, can vary even within a district pretty substantially. Around here in Manhattan Community District 1, we have some baskets that are serviced 3 times a day, some baskets that are serviced just once a day, based on those levels of pedestrian activity, the level of use of the litter basket. In general, we try to focus the service on commercial corridors and have done a lot of work over the last few years, especially with this additional funding in focusing on commercial corridors in the outer boroughs, places like Roosevelt Avenue, for example, in Queens, that has desperately needed additional service. We've really ramped up the service in that area, as well as parts of Brooklyn, the Bronx, Southeast Queens, even Staten Island that previously may not have had the level of service that they needed are currently being serviced much more frequently. And I'll let Chief Pitts add anything that he'd like to there.
As Commissioner Anderson said, we'll focus on the commercial corridors, transit hubs, tourist attractions. So if you want to compare districts, Times Square, you couldn't level up with, let's say, Far Rockaway. But then Far Rockaway, most people forget that we have seasonal changes, during the beach seasons, where we'll up service and then decrease service after the beach season. So we look at all those things, including 311 complaints and things of that nature, and elected inquiries.
So you're saying you focus more on commercial corridors, a level of service at like Times Square is high, they're seasonal, but are there any particular areas that you could say, like, we service this area most frequently, or this borough, or these handful of districts more than others?
I would say, on average, probably there's more service in Manhattan just based on the amount of pedestrian activity. And remember, litter baskets are intended, as our commissioner likes to say, for walking trash. The coffee cup, the food wrapper, the newspaper that you have as you're going about your daily routine. So pedestrian activity is the number one thing that we look at. But because of the additional funding that we've received in the current fiscal year and to a lesser extent in past fiscal years, we've really increased the level of service in outer borough commercial corridors as well. And that's particularly in response to what we saw during COVID, which was that those outer borough commercial corridors had their activity recover a lot faster than Manhattan. So we have a higher level of service in those places today than we did at any point in history.
That's great. I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Holden for questions about the bill.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. I just, the intent of 110 is to codify it, obviously, for the future. We understand that right now, with the additional $22 million, you are emptying the baskets. However, every image that I have of litter baskets it's overflowing. I think everyone put up with that for several years, maybe decades. And it defeats the purpose. Having a litter basket that's overflowing with garbage all around it, blowing all over the commercial districts. And 99% of the litter baskets are in commercial corridors, I would imagine. So we're not talking about, this is not rocket science. This is about emptying and doing the job that you guys are supposed to do, is to empty the baskets. And for years, we didn't have that. We have it now because the council thought it was important. Now we think it's important to make it official and not to give you discretion, because when you had the discretion, you didn't do the job, and it wasn't a priority. It is a priority. Do you know that I still have areas of my district that they, in Ridgewood, that the Civic Association said, we're going to take these baskets out of the commercial corridors because it's a mess, and we don't want to have that mess in the neighborhood. So they took them out because they weren't emptied regularly. So we don't want to leave it up to the Department of Sanitation to decide they're going to reduce it. They're going to have it 2 or 3 times a week, and then we're back to square one. So this is a good bill. I would think that you guys would support it, not just the intent, but to really empty these containers every day. And if some don't need it, then you just go buy it. If nothing's in it, of course, you're not going to take the basket and dump it anyway as a symbolic gesture. But we get it. Just drive by it. But we want you to check. So if people are abusing the baskets, like dumping household garbage, for some people do, we expect enforcement of that. But in the meantime, and I don't really hear a lot of comments on your testimony about the bills. You're just mentioning the bills. You're not even saying if you're for or against it, which is very unusual for a hearing. I expect you to, on paper, to say what you'd like about it and what you don't like about it. I didn't hear that. So just the intent is kind of like a wishy-washy thing. Either you're for it, are you going to back it or not? If you're not going to back it, then the council needs to, go to the next step on it. But at least tell us how you feel about it, rather than I'm not hearing much. Yeah, you want that option to not pick up garbage or the trash, but I don't think that's an option, given the history of not emptying the baskets and what it's meant to the cleanliness of our districts. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember, for that. I think as it stands today, we cannot support the bill. And that's because it's not just discretion to allocate resources, it's discretion to allocate resources that we have. And that, is a conversation that happens in the context of the budget. We think, conversations around service levels should happen in the context of the budget. We would love to do more with more. We would love to continue to increase levels of service. There's nothing that Chief Pitts likes more than to have more resources available for him, for the frontline men and women of the sanitation department to do their job. We, as the sanitation department, fully support that. But as far as determining levels of resource allocation, we think that's more appropriate.
Well, again, I think we need to speak to the commissioner, because then we're headed in the wrong direction. We left it up to the Department of Sanitation for years, and where did it get us? Do you understand the history of the litter baskets? And I have photographs I could show you over a 30-year period, and every year I'm photographing a mess around the litter baskets. In every district in this city, almost. So what you're saying is, let's just go back to where we were before. In the future, I'm not talking about today or this year, I'm talking about moving forward. If we had the necessary resources, and then of course you can ask for the necessary resources, but it's got to be a priority. It should be a priority in the Department of Sanitation to codify this. So I will definitely speak, and I think the chair will speak to the commissioner, because this is very important to the 51 council districts. I know it is, because I've heard the complaints from all over the city about this. And we've had hearings in the last council to deal with this. And we finally came up with a solution. And now we have a bill that would make it official. That yes, litter baskets, the emptying of litter baskets are important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Holden, and definitely want to echo your comments. I think if you're saying you already service the baskets once a day, I don't understand why we shouldn't just make it official and move it forward. I do have some questions about the funding, since you were talking about this should be a conversation in the context of resources. The council fought really hard. I want to credit Councilmember Brannan. I also want to recognize Councilmember Yeager, and I know Councilmember Julie Menon was here, to push for that. So how that 22 million, is that going to take us through the end of the year, considering this is not a baseline program?
Yeah, absolutely. When the adopted budget was finalized in June, we put together a plan that was a full 52-week plan that would allow that level of service to continue over the course of the full fiscal year. So that's what we have implemented. So we've spent down about 30% of that funding, and we're about 30% of the way through the fiscal year.
Okay, and so what would the total cost of this bill be? If it's 22 million is working for the year, and was for 2 times a day for servicing baskets, and you're at baseline doing 1 time a day, would that cover the cost of the program? How much would it cost for DSNY to do this bill?
So I don't have a cost estimate with me today. I think we'd have to look at what the actual baseline level of service is and sort of what that looks like on a district by district basis. But we can certainly have that conversation in the future.
Okay. We definitely included it in the questions we sent over, so we'd love to get that specific follow-up. Did anyone have a question on this specific bill? Yeah. Butcher, I'll get you next. Go ahead.
Hi. Can you name an example of a situation where a basket would not be serviced once a day? And is that happening before the budget allocation? Where can you envision a basket being left unemptied for more than 1 day? And do you think that there's situations where that would be appropriate?
Yeah, I think there are some situations where, based on the level of need, a litter basket does not need to be emptied every single day of the week. There are baskets today in Staten Island, for example, where we have a litter basket because there's occasional pedestrian traffic, but it's not enough that the basket needs to be emptied on a daily basis. So that's the kind of analysis that the cleaning office does, that each individual borough chief does, to look at how many resources do they have available and where do those resources go.
Can you name, would it be like an entire route that wouldn't be needed to be emptied every day? Or would it just be like a couple baskets along that route?
No, it's more a couple baskets along the route. And that's, in every district, there are areas or specific baskets that may require that level of service. But the variation within districts can also be pretty large. There are parts of Staten Island where we do have daily service. There are some baskets on Staten Island that may get service more than once a day between the litter basket service and the collection frequency together. So, that's the analysis that we're doing as we determine how to allocate our resources best across the city.
If there's a basket along a route and they're on the route anyway, even if it's just a little full, why not just empty it?
Well, they're not, I think I may have misspoke. They're not driving past a basket and not emptying it. That's not how they determine the level of service. It's determining which routes are run on which day, and every basket that's on a given route, and it varies based on geography, but it's anywhere from 150, 170, all the way up to 250, close to 300, depending on the density. Every basket that's on the route gets serviced by that crew.
So how likely is it that you'd have an entire route of baskets and none of them need to be emptied that day?
It's more a question of how, which baskets are on which routes. We may have in one district 2 trucks on a Tuesday and 1 truck on a Monday. So the Monday truck has to cover as many baskets as it can, and we route to try to maximize the number of baskets that it covers. And then on Tuesday, we have 2 routes that can cover, basically every basket across the district. So that's the kind of variation. We're not sending out a truck to do the same route every day and telling them, on Tuesdays, you don't pick up this one. We're actually changing the routes on a daily basis based on that resource availability.
the intent of this bill, and what this bill would do, from what I understand, is ensure that every day the trucks at least pass by the baskets at one time. Like every route has a truck passing through. Is that not realistic sounding to you? How many baskets are on a route?
So like I said, it varies based on density. I think probably on the low end, it's around 170 or so, 175. On the high end, it might be close to 300. I don't think we have any that get to 300, but it really varies based on density. If you have a route in Manhattan that's going up and down an avenue, you can cover a lot of baskets really quickly. If you're in an outer borough where the baskets are more sporadically placed, or where the blocks are longer, or it's longer windy roads, you may have fewer baskets just based on the amount of time it takes to cover the distance.
Because what happened historically is the baskets would just be left overflowing, and those trucks wouldn't be passing by every day. From what I understand, what this bill would ensure is that at least the trucks would be passing by the baskets every day, and if they're overflowing, they would take care of it. It seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, and that's ultimately a question of resource availability, and that's a conversation that the administration believes should happen in the context of the budget. We are very happy with the level of service that we're providing right now. We are thrilled that it is the highest level of service we have ever had in New York City, and we would love to continue the conversations about that level of service in the budget.
That's great. So would really love that specific feedback around how much would it cost to service every basket. If we want to push forth the bill, you're saying it should be in the budget. It would be great to know how much does it cost. Councilmember Osei, and then I'll pass it to Yeager after for your remarks.
Thank you, Chair Nurse, and hi guys, good morning. I just want to follow up on a question that Councilmember Bottcher asked. I know that it depends on which baskets the DSNY goes by and doesn't pick up on a regular basis in terms of the need in those commercial corridors. But is there any guidelines that the department has in terms of certain corridors where you frequently see these litter baskets overflown multiple times a day? Do you have a special duty of picking those baskets up multiple times a day, or is it just one time a day for those baskets as well?
No, some of those baskets may be collected, as many as 2 or 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
There are districts where we have basket trucks assigned on each of the 3 shifts, and so those baskets may be serviced on the midnight shift, on the day shift, on the afternoon shift, and that determination is based on the level of need, the amount of activity we're seeing, the frequency of complaints. It's based on a number of factors that we're using a lot of situational awareness, a lot of real institutional knowledge from our uniformed officers to make that determination.
And when you see that certain baskets, need to be picked up or refilled 3 or 4 times a day, do you consider increasing that, or what considerations does the department have when you are consistently seeing these certain corridors have those baskets filled to the brim at all times of the day? Is that something you evaluate to expand more baskets in that part of the neighborhood or corridor, provide more services there? Does that make sense in terms of my question?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, Councilmember. We don't see a basket filling up as a bad thing. That's an indication of commercial activity. It's an indication that our streets are vibrant. It's when it's overflowing that we think it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. So we try to match the level of service based on available resources to how the baskets are being used. And that's really the calculation we do. In places where even 3 times a day isn't enough, we may add an additional basket on that corner. There are a handful of corners in the city that I'm aware of where there's 4 corners on an intersection. Each of those 4 corners has 2 baskets. Mm-hmm. And that's just because of the amount of people flowing through that area, the amount of litter that they're generating. And, we try to match the number of baskets, the level of service with the demand based on resources.
And maybe Chair Nurse or any members of the committee may have an answer to this question, but I'll ask you guys. Is there any type of public data that you have in terms of how consistently some of these baskets are picked up, or where you see some of the higher density areas where the bins are usually filled to the brim?
I don't think we have anything publicly available on the level of service and the service frequency for individual baskets. That's something we're open to conversation with council about. We do have a map that we update very regularly on open data that shows where all the baskets are located, and we're open to conversations about.
And the final question that I have for you, and obviously I know you wouldn't have these numbers or any type of these documents off the top of your head right now, but if you could send them to me via email whenever you can. I think a high density area where I've heard many complaints about how overflown the baskets are is Utica Avenue between about Eastern Parkway to Dean Street. And I have many residents that are always telling me and calling my office saying that the litter baskets are filled to the brim, and would love to see some numbers in terms of how often you are coming through that corridor and letting the trash out of these trash bins. Maybe if we need more trash bins on that corridor, that's something I would like to know as well, but I would love to see those numbers in some type of document or physical form.
Yeah, we can absolutely follow up.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The final question on this bill is just, can you very quickly share what is the frequency in which you recalibrate? So when you're seeing the conditions change, how often are you adding a route or taking away a route? Does that happen on a weekly, on a monthly, on a quarterly basis? Like, how nimble are you all based on your on-the-ground assessment with your drivers and the workers?
Yeah, so the resource allocation generally is made on a fiscal year basis because the funding is allocated generally on a fiscal year basis. So at the beginning of the fiscal year, like we did this year with the additional 22 million, we'll sit down and say, what makes sense as far as where we think those resources should go. Over the course of the year, we'll make adjustments along the way. And that may be looking at individual districts that need more service, maybe looking at entire boroughs that need more service.
So it's as needed?
It's really as needed. There's not like a standard cadence for that evaluation, and it's really based on what Chief Pitts and all of his officers are seeing in the field, all the feedback they're getting from various types of situational awareness.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Yeager to give remarks about his two bills.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning. I apologize that I wasn't here when you testified. I don't drive the subway, I just ride it, but I did read your testimony. And I just want to go through some of the questions regarding the bills that I've introduced. And most of the bills that are being heard today are just really common sense solutions to the problems that New Yorkers face every single day. And I do agree that, the department has an immeasurably difficult task of keeping New York clean. And I think some of these bills would help you do that. But one of the jarring parts of your testimony is that I get to the bottom of the second page where you first discuss the bills being heard today, and then keep reading, and you go through the bills, you reintroduce them to us, because we know what we introduced, and you're just telling us what we introduced. And then you get to the line where it says, you have concerns about some of the bills. We look forward to discussing with the council how to best achieve the goals they represent. Well, here you are, here we are. What's wrong with the bills? I mean, we'll go in order if you want. Introduction number 32, it's my bill, introduced early this year, was first introduced in 2018 by Councilman Alan Maisel, was introduced in a previous session of the council by Councilman Greenfield, my predecessor, in 2017. Introduction number 33 was introduced in 2018 by Councilman Alan Maisel. In the previous session of the council, it was introduced in 2014 by Councilman Jimmy Vaca. In 2010, it was introduced by Councilman Mike Nelson. And in 2009, in a previous session, also introduced by Mike Nelson. So here we sit, and it seems to me that the department does not have a fully formed opinion on these bills. And I'm just wondering how it came to pass that in 13 years, the department has not come to have an opinion on the bills that we're here to discuss today. You knew the hearing was happening. You're ready to discuss with the council how to best achieve the goals they represent. Discuss. Tell us what's wrong with the bill, what you'd like to see changed. If nothing, tell us nothing, and then we can go about doing the things we do, like passing them. But just to explain to you the genesis of introduction number 32. In relation to requiring a searchable database for notices of violation issued by the Department of Sanitation. It costs the city nothing to do it. I mean, it's a database. The information's in there. It's all in a computer already. All you got to do is flip a switch, turn it on, let us be able to search. It costs nothing. And I'm big into doing things that cost nothing. Introduction number 33, it would require that notices of violation issued by the Department of Sanitation be accompanied by a photograph of the alleged violation. Now, I'm not holding you accountable for what I'm going to tell you, but nonetheless, this is true. A gentleman in my neighborhood gets a summons within a day or two of him calling 311 because of a missed pickup. We tell people, call 311 when you miss a pickup. Calls me up and he says, I don't care really that I got a summons. I've lived here 40 years, never got a summons, but if it was my turn, it was my turn. And he gets the summons for, the street cleaning, a Kit Kat wrapper on the street or what have you. He says, the problem is that a day or two later, I'm out at around that time, and the same guy who wrote the summons pulls up and writes me a summons, and I said, well, there's nothing on the street. And the gentleman tells me, but that's what you get when you call 311 and complain that we missed a pickup. That's one story. We have stories like this all throughout the city. We have stories of video cameras that were not as prevalent in New York in 2009 when Mike Nelson first introduced the bill, picking up evidence of enforcement agents writing summonses where the violations didn't exist. It's a simple bill to keep people honest. It's not a difficult thing. And I don't doubt, by the way, that this will tie in directly to introduction number 32 of requiring a searchable database, because as soon as we're done today, in come the sanitation enforcement officers to my neighborhood to start writing summonses. Let's show Yeager what happens when he complains. These are true stories. Sanitation enforcement agencies, I'm sure there are many good ones, but they target neighborhoods, they target people, they target in response to complaints. A set of enforcement agents in my neighborhood this summer decided that they're not going to write summonses for dirty streets because the streets weren't dirty. Most people are away in my neighborhood. So instead, they're going to start enforcing parking regulations. And who did they enforce it against? They wrote summonses to school buses parked in front of schools for not violating the no standing during street cleaning regulations, but for violating the don't park in front of school regulation, where the statute specifically says school buses can park in front of schools. They turned themselves into parking enforcement agents, not sanitation enforcement agents. And they did it, why? Because they had summonses they had to write, and they're going to get yelled at if they don't. So, let me go back to my original question. I appreciate that you listened to my little speech. Here we are, we're sitting here, and you say you're ready to discuss with the council how to best achieve the goals they represent. We want to pass the bills. Tell us how to get them better for you to be able to pass them.
Thank you, Councilmember. And just to address a few of the things that you said, I'll get to the bills, I assure you. On the issue of tickets being improperly issued, you and I have had conversations about that in the past. We have, to my knowledge, very swiftly addressed every issue that you have brought to our attention. And we have, as a matter of department policy, we have made it clear that that kind of behavior is unacceptable. So if there are still specific issues happening, we need to know about them and we will swiftly address them. We are also trying to proactively address those issues. So,
and I appreciate that very much, Deputy Commissioner. And I should have opened with that, saying that the department, in response to something that happened when we did bring this up with the department's leadership under this commissioner and under her immediate predecessor, although limited to those two commissioners, it is true that they were attended to. But wouldn't the bill that requires an enforcement agent have to take a picture of the item being violated, just simply address this problem without having it to rise to a level of asking a deputy commissioner to fix the problem? Because not every New Yorker who gets a summons calls their council member and says, I got a summons, and then the council member picks up the phone and calls the deputy commissioner and says, why is this guy getting harassed like this? Most New Yorkers get the summons and they just deal with it, because it's the price of being a New Yorker is getting another summons. Wouldn't this bill just simply fix that? And wouldn't the second bill, Intro 33, give New Yorkers the resources to turn anecdote into either reality or falsity? In other words, right now, anecdotally, every neighborhood in New York and every person living in every neighborhood in New York believes that they are the most targeted neighborhood in the entire city. It doesn't matter what the statistics say. There are no statistics. We can't look it up. Give us the tools so that when folks in Councilmember Nurse's neighborhood say, well, we get tickets more than anybody else, she can say, well, look at the stats. That's just not true. They're all in Yeager's district. You know, it's a simple tool, and I'm just trying to understand what the objection is and why we're here today, because it just seems like, you know, you kind of just, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, please, but you kind of just check in the box by being here, saying, we're here, you guys have a hearing, we'll show up, but we don't really care.
Sure, so to address the specific bills, Intro 32, there is already a tremendous amount of information available on open data about every notice of violation issued by every agency that's returnable to oath, including sanitation violations. So there's a lot of information there that's available to the public, including where are the violations issued, what are the violations for. So, you know, we think that's just duplicative of information that's already updated in real time from department internal databases and from oath databases. So that's our position there. Intro 33, you know, we cannot support Intro 33. It poses a very large burden for the agency for two reasons. One, it has the potential impact on cleanliness. We get calls, texts, Twitter notifications, 311 complaints of all sorts from elected officials, from constituents, from business owners, from community leaders telling us to do more enforcement, hold scofflaw property owners, businesses accountable, and we need to be able to do that. The reason this bill creates a challenge for us is the way that photographic evidence affects the way violations are adjudicated. So when we send a ticket to oath, that ticket on its own serves as the entire case that the city is making against the respondent. If we attach a photograph to that ticket, the only way for that photograph to be considered as evidence is if we send an officer, an agent, someone to represent the department to attest to the validity of the photograph, when it was taken, where it was taken, what's in the photograph, that it's outside of the address that's listed, and it's just simply impossible from a resource perspective for us to send those agents, officers, representatives to every hearing. And we think it's, even more so, we think that it's wrong to take those agents and officers out of the streets and put them in a hearing room or a virtual hearing room or what have you.
I appreciate that very much, because you bring me to another good point, so thank you. So first of all, it would have been helpful if you just, that's the one paragraph you could have thrown into the bottom of this and just said this is why we oppose it, and I could have saved 5 minutes on my first part of the speech. Exactly what you described is the challenge for the department is exactly why we need this bill. Because when an officer, when the agency issues a summons, that summons is prima facie evidence. In other words, a lying enforcement agent is taken at the word on a piece of paper with no ability to cross-examine. That piece of paper goes to oath. The oath judges are machines. They don't rule against the city. They rule in favor of the city. They rule against the people all the time. They're machines. Their job is to say, affirmed. We sustain the summons. That's their job. Their job is to make money for the city. They're not getting paid to dismiss summonses. And this bill, Intro 33, is different from the 4 versions introduced prior here too, because I put in a line, sometimes I write my own bills, that each such notice of violation shall be accompanied by an affidavit from the issuing agent containing the date, time, and precise location where the photograph was taken and the name of the individual who took the photograph. That too would be prima facie evidence. It would be a record kept in the ordinary course of business, so obviously admissible in the CPLR, and rebuttable evidence of the facts contained therein. Okay, so in other words, you take the picture, An affidavit comes along with the picture, who took the picture. Same with the, with when somebody gets a camera ticket from, you know, going exactly the right speed, but 36 instead of 35. And there's an affidavit on the back saying, I inspected the camera, it works well, I checked it out, it's all good, sign my name, etc. It's all computer generated. But the purpose is that if the guy who writes the ticket is a liar, that's perjury, and they should be prosecuted. And this happens more, if this happened once in my lifetime and I never heard it again,
You got a question?
and I would never say a word about it, but this happens all the time. So now that you've heard the back, and your answer has been that we don't want to burden oath, we don't want to burden them with sending all these people to come and testify. Now that you've heard that there's a reason for it, could we get you the agency support on this bill?
Councilmember, I cannot support the bill here today. I think, you know, we are open to further discussions about the changes that you've made. We're open to further discussions about enforcement generally. We're open to discussions about specific issues you're seeing. We can't support the bill here today, but, you know, look forward to those conversations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have some questions about the bill, just to bring some more information on the record. For Intro 32, you know, you said this is public data, but can you just remind us how many notices of violation does DSNY issue?
Sure. So notices of violation returnable to oath, fiscal year 21, 268,000, fiscal year 22, 249,000, fiscal year 23 to date, around 93,000.
And do you know how many are successfully pushed back against?
Yeah, so
thrown out?
that information is kept by oath. You know, we do receive reports on that information, and it's you know, broken down by the types of violations that are issued. So we do receive information about dismissals, about appeals from oath.
Can you give us a ballpark estimate, percentage estimate? So last year, how many notices of violations were successfully defeated by the people who received the ticket?
I don't have that number here in front of me, but we can certainly provide it.
It would be really helpful,
Yeah.
I think, for the conversation. And do you have some geographic data where you could say where you're getting more violations versus not?
Yeah, I mean, I have in front of me, I have it broken down by community board. So if there's like a specific,
Maybe you could give
Data
us
point.
the top 5.
in terms of top 5 community boards, sorry, I don't have it sorted. But for example, you know, in the Bronx, you have Community Board 12, which geographically is the largest community board in the Bronx, received the most violations in the Bronx, 2,700 so far year to date. In Manhattan, Community Board 12, also geographically the largest, 2,200 year to date. Let's see. In Brooklyn, Brooklyn Community Board 1, not geographically the largest, but probably one of the top 3 geographically and one of the highest in population, has 2,400 year to date.
What's your lowest, where you issue the lowest number of violations?
Give me 1 second. Looks like Queens Community Board 6 appears to be the lowest for fiscal 23 year to date.
Okay. And then for Intro 33, how many notices of violation does DSNY issue to property owners related to dirty conditions each year?
Yeah, so, you know, the breakdown of our violations based on sanitation conditions of all kinds, dirty sidewalk, dirty area, failure to clean, improper receptacles, overflowing receptacles. For this year at least, it's probably about 85% of the total that are issued for those sanitation conditions generally.
Okay. And you also get the dispute data?
Yeah, we get a report from
Okay.
Oath on a monthly basis.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember, do you have any other questions on your bill? Okay, thank you. So we're going to move on to Intro 145 in relation to requiring the Department of Sanitation to remove fallen tree limbs, branches, and vegetation that obstructs streets and sidewalks as a result of inclement weather. Do you have an opinion on this bill?
Yeah, so this is something we obviously already do. You know, we are there to support our sister agencies following any disaster or emergency situation, whether it's a hurricane or strong winds. We're there to help the Parks Department, you know, through the Downtree Task Force that's organized by OEM. You know, we're there. We are part of the response. It is a whole of city effort. Many other agencies also participate in those efforts. And, you know, everything from NYPD, FDNY addressing legitimate public safety issues in real time, to the Parks Department and their forestry division doing the cutting and prioritizing those service requests after the storm. So we're certainly a part of that effort.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you're supportive.
I think, you know, there are some concerns about the bill from the Parks Department perspective, particularly the 72-hour requirement.
Okay.
We would defer to the Parks Department to speak to that. But as far as, you know, Sanitation Department offering its assistance as resources allow, we already do that, and we'll continue doing that indefinitely into the future.
Okay, for Intro 238, in relation to collection of recyclable materials after a holiday, I know you all have been working on this. Can you talk a little bit about how that's been going this year as you've been kind of slowly rolling that out?
Sure. So this is something that we've put in place for the last 2 holidays that we had. And the most recent holiday, we actually saw really, really productive use of those resources. I think we collected something like 6,500 tons of trash on the holiday, and everything that wasn't collected on the holiday itself was picked up, you know, on the Tuesday following. So really a major shift in terms of our ability to provide that service to residents of the city of New York.
And when you're doing that, are you having enough, I mean, the way it's been framed when you're putting it out publicly is that you have your workers who are volunteering to take on this shift. So is that enough folks selecting to take that shift to cover the whole city, or is it just targeting kind of your high needs areas?
Yeah, so the most recent holiday, we had 1,500 actually more than 1,500 volunteers, which is a great number. We were able to run, you know, 700 plus trucks on the holiday itself. Remember, these are contractually set holidays. These are you know, days off that the workers have earned and deserved. We're asking them, you know, if they can, to come in on the holiday if they want to. And the important thing is anything we don't get on the holiday itself, we are getting that next day. We're getting it, you know, Tuesday on the midnight shift or on the day shift.
No, I understand that, but so you've been able to, do you have are you focusing those resources in specific areas, or are you able to cover the whole?
No, we're using them across the city.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're trying to spread them evenly around across all of the boroughs and districts.
Okay. Sorry, I had a follow-up question, but it escaped me. But we'll move on I'll come back if I remember it. For Intro 630, in relation to tracking of the street cleaning operations, this is where the street sweepers, the brooms, mechanical brooms, would be available online for folks to see in real time, similar to the way the Plow NYC does. What are your thoughts on this bill?
So this is something we've been looking into independently. We do have GPS devices on all of our street sweepers.
Right.
So, you know, this bill we do support, and I think we just want to work with the sponsor, you, to talk about the timeline and some of the specific scope requirements of that. We're early in the sort of IT development phase right now, doing exploratory work on what would be necessary, what do we want it to look like. So that's something that we'd like to have further conversations about.
Okay. And do you have any initial budgetary costs for a program like this?
We don't. We're still early in
no.
that sort of
Okay.
requirements collecting process.
Okay. For Intro 693, this is the bill with the public advocate Williams and I, in relationship to do the provision of sufficient receptacles for the storage of solid waste. Do you have any thoughts on this bill?
So as written, I don't think we can support it.
Okay.
We do agree with the intent to containerize more waste and get black bags off the curb. It would be somewhat infeasible to retrofit existing buildings with the kind of dumpsters that the bill is envisioning. That said, as I mentioned in my testimony, we are doing a really comprehensive evaluation of waste containerization right now, and should have the results of that in the next few months. We're happy to keep council apprised of how that's going, what we're learning, and certainly once we have any recommendations or plans from that process, we'll work with the council to make that happen.
And do you have a scope of the study that McKinsey is going to be working on that you can share with us?
Yeah, we could share with you the scope of work that they have. I don't have it here with me, but it's a relatively detailed document.
Okay. Yeah, we would really love that follow-up.
Sure.
Okay, and then I just had some other questions just to keep us updated on some of the, commercial waste zones, one of the biggest pieces of reform. We really want to make sure that's moving forward. So I wanted to ask, how many, since we last had a hearing on the CWZ, how many staff has DSNY hired specifically for CWZ implementation?
Yeah, so we have 18 full-time staff on board right now, and that's dedicated to commercial waste zones. Obviously, we have a lot of other folks in our legal division, in our analysis division, who are also working on that implementation.
So you had 18. In May, you said you would be bringing 30 positions.
Yeah, so the 30 positions that I mentioned at the hearing earlier this year were related to our
Outreach and
our
education.
outreach team specifically. So that's actually a vendor that will be bringing those on board. We're in procurement right now. We had an RFP go out probably in August or so, and we're reviewing the responses and should have that contract moving forward shortly.
So for the 18 folks that you did bring on, is that your full goal, or what's the goal you need to get to implement?
Yeah, so we still have more hiring to do.
Do you know how many you're trying to fill?
I don't have that number here today, and I think we're looking at, as we go through the implementation process, looking at what's the right mix of titles, what's the right mix of skill sets that we need in order to really implement this really complicated program successfully.
Okay, we'd love to get more follow-up on that.
Sure.
On just how many people you need to effectively run this program. That is the biggest piece of waste reform. So for the 30 positions focused on outreach and education, has DSNY started conducting this critical business outreach?
So we have an in-house outreach and program team that's part of the Bureau of Commercial Waste. So they've been doing outreach all summer long, basically since they've been onboarded.
How does that outreach look?
So right now they're primarily focused on educating businesses about commercial recycling, commercial organics. As of next month, we have enforcement beginning on the straw legislation that was passed 2 years ago. So they're educating businesses about a whole range of policies and regulations. They're also, the information that we use, which is available in many different languages, also has information about commercial waste zones, what to expect when that comes. But we're not really doing specific targeted commercial waste zones outreach yet because we haven't selected the carters. We don't really have a clear message to give to those businesses yet.
Okay, so right now, just to regurgitate what you said to me, you have 30 folks, or you're beginning to fill those 30 positions with that vendor, and they are carrying a basic flyer. And what's the form of outreach? Are they going door to door to businesses, and it's not necessarily targeted?
So it's 8 in-house staff that are dedicated to the outreach team, 30 or potentially more that will be hired by the vendor through the contract that we're currently in procurement on. So we haven't selected that vendor.
Okay.
We haven't started hiring those people, but we expect them to be on board in the next few months. So what the 8 people are doing is they're going out with, they're going door to door.
Door to door, okay.
With specific materials about commercial recycling, commercial organics, and other laws and regulations that affect businesses. Also just, offering information about how to select a private carter, making sure that businesses have private carters, because that's obviously a requirement even today. And they're doing that. They're also, attending, trade association meetings, hosting webinars. They're trying to get the information out there in as many ways as possible, but primarily doing that door-to-door outreach.
Great. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely want to continue to follow along on that effort. I don't have any further questions today.
And actually, Chair, just going back to Intro 238, just
Okay.
because I did not state a position on the record,
Okay.
we believe chasing refuse after a holiday is the most effective use of our limited resources, because refuse and organics as well attract rats, create odors. They're the sort of fundamental cleaning and quality of life issue. So that's where we put our resources. Chasing recycling after a holiday would distract from chasing that refuse.
Okay, thank you for that. And I just wanted to say, I definitely echo the comments and sentiments of Councilmember Holden. I felt like you all could have provided a little bit more substantive feedback on this, given most of these are reintroductions, with the exception of the GIS one, which you sounded very supportive of. And next time, we'd really appreciate a little more substance provided. So thank you very much. It's the end of the hearing.